Ah yes, it's time for another album ranking, and this one is going to be a fucking big one. I'll try to keep it quick and simple. Helloween, the legendary power metal band, has released 16 studio albums. There have been tumultuous fucking years in the band, and their story is truly remarkable. In this video, I'll give you a bit of the history behind each release. It really should be a fun discography review, but I'll kill two birds with one stone by providing some background information and behind the scenes insights while discussing the albums. It's a truly remarkable story. From death and departures to firings, this band would be great for a movie if they ever decided to make one. So before I start, pop your rankings down below. And let's start with the weakest album. So in my opinion, the weakest Helloween album is their 1993 release, Chameleon. This came during a tumultuous period for the band, as they had already released one mediocre album, Pink Bubbles Go Ape, and then followed it up with an even worse one in Chameleon. Chameleon is a long, tedious and boring fucking album. They completely stripped away their heavy metal and power metal influences that had defined their sound, opting instead for a more mainstream musical direction that I'm sure alienated the long-term fan base. I simply don't like this album at all. It lacks substance with a sonically simple approach and overabundance of fucking ballads straying far away from the heaviness that Helloween is known for. While the guitar work is great in Helloween albums and Michael Kiska's vocals are fantastic as always, the overall product is just draining to fucking listen to, especially giving it over an hour runtime. First Time is an okay song, and Longing is a decent ballad closer, but I find the rest of the album to be completely skippable. I would not recommend anyone to listen to Chameleon. It's an album that can honestly just get in the fucking bin in my opinion. What a load of trash. And we continue with what I consider the other weakest album. It's Pink Bubbles Go Ape. Kai Hansen left the band in 1989 and was replaced by Roland Grappel as the new guitarist. During this time, Helloween was embroiled in a lawsuit with their former record label, Noise Records, claiming they weren't being paid enough and should get paid more. The band was on hiatus for close to fucking 3 years. So in 1991, Helloween released Pink Bubbles Go Ape. During the lawsuit, they had changed labels going to EMI and the results weren't great. This album is quite different from their previous releases. The songs feel more generic, lacking the substance of their earlier work. They decided to strip away their power metal fucking roots and speed metal roots, transitioning into a more hard rock oriented sound. I have to rank this album low because I really don't go back to it. This was a very dark time for Helloween with the lawsuit and the departure of Kai Hansen. A lot of the amazing songwriting was lost as they tried to aim for the mainstream with Pink Bubbles Go Ape, and it just didn't fucking work. That said, it's still a lot better than Chameleon. An album I'm not even sure, I don't know what the fuck they were thinking back then. Pink Bubbles Go Ape can be forgiven as there are some good guitar work. Moments like in Kids of the Century and Mankind is a decent song, but it was a significant fall for the heights of Keep of the Seven Keys Part 2. Also, Ingo Schwittenberg, the drummer, couldn't finish the album due to mental illness and he was replaced by Richie Abdul-Nabi. In the year 2013, Helloween were touring extensively across the world, and they also released the album Straight Out of Hell. Unfortunately, I'm not really a big fan of this album. It just feels like stale, repetitive Helloween, like stale fucking moldy bread. Many of the albums had started to sound quite similar by this point, and Straight Out of Hell is a prime example of this sameness. It's still a good album overall, but I was hoping for something, different and more inspired from Helloween. Andy Durr's vocals are, as always, very strong. However, you get tracks like Asshole, which just feel frivolous and downgrade the overall fucking quality of the album. I understand the band was likely trying to recapture the magic of albums like Seven Sinners, but Straight Out of Hell falls flat in my opinion. That said, there are still some good songs like the hard hitter opener, Neighbor Tai, the thrashy World War, and Waiting for the Thunder with its ripping fucking guitar solo. The title track, Straight Out of Hell, is also a pretty good song. Overall though, this is easily one of my least favorite Helloween albums. I don't really feel compelled to go fucking back to it and listen to it again, as it just doesn't measure up to the band's stronger, more inspired work. So Straight Out of Hell can get in the bin. Another mediocre album by Helloween is My God Given Right. It was released in 2015.
Given right to stand and fight for what I like. It's my God-given right.
It's an alright effort, but nothing truly special or memorable. In my opinion, Andy Durr's vocals have even started to deteriorate a bit on this album, as he sometimes struggles to reach the high notes that have characterized his performance on past Helloween releases. There are a few good songs like The Energetic Heroes, The Heavy Battle One, The Fun Stay Crazy, and The Solid Lost in America. However, the rest of the album is just simply fine. Not bad, but not particularly engaging either. Overall, My God Given Rights sounds very similar to the previous album, Straight Out of Hell, but I do think it's a bit stronger and more cohesive. The musicianship is, as always, excellent, but the album as a whole feels rather long and tedious at times. It seems like Helloween were potentially running out of fresh fucking ideas or inspirations on this one. Thank God Pumpkin United came back. The songs are competent, but lack the creativity and sense of adventure that made their classic album so fucking compelling. Ultimately, My God Given Right is a decidedly middle-of-the-road effort from the band. Not their worst, but far from their fucking best. After the release of The Dark Ride, inner turmoil occurred with the band once more, as the guitarist Roland Grappel and drummer Uli Kusch departed due to a lack of full commitment to Helloween. They found Sasha Gerstner for guitars and a new drummer, Mark Cross, but he couldn't finish the album, so they replaced Mark Cross with Stefan Schwartzman. Helloween then went on to release Rabbit Don't Come Easy in 2003. This album is good, but not fucking great. I feel that a lot of the songs are run-of-the-mill Helloween. Of course, you get some great soaring choruses, like the first two songs, Just a Little Sign and Open Your Life. What a fucking bangers they are. They are just fantastic. However, the album then meanders and loses its identity, in my opinion. Don't Stop Being Crazy is a nice power ballad with a string of synthy keyboards and a grandiose fucking chorus, but the rest of the songs just okay, apart from the chuggy doomy back against a wall. More of that, please, Helloween. I definitely don't consider this one of my favorite Helloween albums. I prefer to listen to their more interesting compositions. The Dark Ride, the album before this one, is a lot fucking better. Again, the lineup changes affected the outcome of Rabbit Don't Come Easy. While it still is very good musically and vocally, the songwriting lacks and the songs don't do much for me overall. The drummer at that time, Stefan Schwartzman, was fired from the band due to creative differences and diverging musical directions. He was then replaced by Daniel Loble, who fit the bill for the drummer role. In 2005, Helloween released Keep of the Seven Keys, The Legacy, which is another fantastic album by the band.
Just say you want to share and power no one will withstand. Just
epic opening track, The King for 1,000 Years, sets the tone beautifully, showcasing the tight musicianship as the band clicks together as a cohesive unit, creating some fantastic heavy and power metal. You have the strange Born of Judgment with a terrific guitar solo, and Andy Derris' vocals are as always fucking fantastic. He utilizes his high falsetto range a lot on this record. Mrs. God is another strong song, and Occasion Avenue has a sound reminiscent of Iron Maiden's Acacia Avenue. It's like a spin of words when Derris sings, features yet another great guitar solo. Most of the songs on Keep It to 7 Keys, The Legacy, are very strong, and I enjoy the album from start to finish. It's an interesting, more direct sequel to the Keep It to 7 Keys albums, with clear elements and melodies carrying over, especially on Occasion Avenue, which has a nostalgic, vintage vibe. Overall, each song hits different, making this a compelling and well-rounded release from Helloween. In 1993, Michael Kiske was fired from Helloween due to not resonating well with fans when performing, and also being nervous about playing songs from the two fucking terrible albums they had produced. At the start of 1994, Helloween found themselves in a dark period. They had no vocalist, no fucking drummer, and their record label EMI had cut ties with them due to the poor sales of Chameleon. However, things changed very quickly. I mean very quickly. The following year, when they released the amazing album Master of the Rings. They recruited a new vocalist, Andy Derris, and a new drummer, Uli Kirsch. Master of the Rings is a much heavier and more cohesive album compared to Chameleon and Pink Bubbles Go Ape. The production is excellent, and I love Andy Derris' vocals on his first album with the band. Michael Wyckoff and Roland Grappel work well together harmonically, and Uli Kirsch does a great job on drums, with the overall sound being more intense. Standout tracks include the hard-hitting Soul Survivor, the emotional In the Middle of a Heartbeat with its like Middle Eastern guitar melodies, and the album closer Still We Go, Still We Go. It was a complete turnaround for Helloween after the disastrous fucking year before this album was released. Master of the Rings is a fantastic album, and many great songs on it. They even experimented with the catchy electronic infused The Game Is On, but the album still remained true to Helloween's heavy metal and power metal roots. Andy Derris proved to be a great addition to the band. In 1995, the former Helloween drummer Ingo Schwittenberg tragically took his own life. His mental illness, which he had schizophrenia, had worsened, and in the end it was the right decision for him to leave the band. Helloween dedicated their album The Time of the Oath to his memory. The Time of the Oath is a terrific album from start to finish, featuring furious and heavy power metal. I love Andy Derris' vocals on this record. He demonstrates an incredibly impressive vocal range. The guitar work, solos, and the thunderous drumming by Uli Kirsch are all amazing as well. The songwriting on The Time of Oath is significantly better than on the previous albums I mentioned. Helloween were back, baby, with a vengeance. Some standout tracks include the vicious chorus of We Burn, the riveting solo in Still Tormentor, the thrash tinge Before the War, the anthemic A Million to One, the all-out belter Mission Motherland, and the epic closer title track. There are also more symphonic elements on this album that add a layer of grandeur, especially on the track Forever and One. Overall, I love this album from start to finish, though I still believe Helloween has recorded even better albums in their discography. Things were relatively calm for Helloween at the start of the new millennium. In 2000, they released the album The Dark Ride, which is a pretty underrated album, which represents a different sonic direction for the band. I feel this album is very good, but it's a noticeable departure from Helloween's classic power metal and heavy metal sound. Andy Derris' vocals on this record incorporate more of a gritty, gruff elements similar to his vocal approach on Better Than Raw, which I feel is a better album. Michael Vickers' guitar work is, as always, excellent. However, the guitars on A Dark Ride are down-tuned and much heavier than on previous Helloween albums. Despite the overall darker and more aggressive tone and the dark themes, there are still brilliant melodic songs like Mr. Torture and its catchy chorus, and the spiraling guitar riffs on Mirror, Mirror, the emotionally charged If I Could Fly, and the 9-minute closer, The Dark Ride, showcase Helloween's songwriting versatility on this album. The production is very well done with the punchy fucking drums that complement the heavier guitar sound. Overall, The Dark Ride is a bit of a departure for Helloween, but it works very well. It sits in the middle of the pack for me in terms of their overall discography, but I still enjoy this album. The songwriting and musicianship are top notch, even as the band explores a slightly darker, more modern metal direction. Helloween's 13th studio album, Seven Sinners, released in 2010, is probably the heaviest the band has ever fucking sounded. I really like this album, but I feel it lacks a bit in overall substance compared to some of their other releases. There are certainly some great melodies and catchy fucking choruses on Seven Sinners, but the heavy, punishing production makes everything so fucking feel very weighty and intense. I was taken aback by just how heavy the first song, Where the Sinners Go, is, with its thunderous percussion, frenetic riffs, and Andy Durr's gritty fucking vocal delivery. The album maintains this heavy, aggressive tone throughout, with standout tracks like The Closer, Far in the Future, showcasing spiraling guitar melodies, odd time signatures, and frantic solos. The songwriting is very strong, and the album will instantly have you headbanging along. Other highlights include the anthemic Raise the Noise, the hard-hitting You Stupid Mankind, and the catchy Are You Metal? While I thoroughly enjoy Seven Sinners, I do think it sits in the middle of the pack in Helloween's discography. There are other albums in the catalogue that I personally consider to be stronger and more well-rounded. This is the making of a fairy tale. Helloween's self-titled album, released in 2021, marked a resurgence for the band. What an amazing story it is. All three lead vocalists, Andy Durris, Kai Hansen, and Michael Kiske, are featured on this Helloween album. The band members, who had once been divided, were now reunited, coming together to produce such a great fucking album. The bad blood and tensions of the past were washed away, replaced by a sense of renewed resurrection for Helloween. It was incredible when I found out that they had reunited as Pumpkin United. This album is amazing. With outstanding guitar work by Vyckoff and brilliant vocal performances from all three singers. They harmonize so well with each other, particularly on standout tracks like the memorable chorus of Out for the Glory and the catchy Best Time. Mass Pollution is another banger, showcasing the crazy vocal interplay on Robot King and Skyfall. Skyfall is like one of the best fucking Helloween songs of all time. Absolutely fucking love that song. They work so well together on this, and to think, so much tension it was back in the day. This reunion feels so genuine and heartwarming after all the turmoil the band had faced over the years, which we'll dive into more later. For them to come to terms and collaborate again is truly incredible in my opinion. The album is so good. I remember playing it constantly when it was first released, and listening to it again has only cemented my love for it. The vocals are brilliant, the production is amazing, and the songwriting is awesome. While it may not surpass some of Helloween's all-time great albums, this self-titled effort is still a fucking resounding success and a triumphant comeback. Better Than Raw is the next Helloween album, and before its release, the band had been touring extensively all over the world. They were back with a vengeance. In 1998, they released Better Than Raw, which is one of my favorite albums by Helloween. I love this album from start to finish. It's incredibly melodic, with every song being so fucking memorable. Andy Durr's vocals are amazing as always, conveying a lot of emotion, especially on tracks like A Handful of Pain, which features a mouth-watering guitar solo. This is a much heavier album from Helloween, with some thrashy songs like Push, anthemic tracks like Hey Lord, the amazing guitar solo in Revelation, the impressive vocal work on Time, and the more aggressive Levdate Dominium and Midnight Sun. Overall, this is a fantastic album. It's fun, energetic, and I just love to play it. One album I'm not including in my ranking is their cover album Metal Jukebox, which was released a year later. I generally prefer to listen to original songs, so I'm not a big fan of cover albums. Walls of Jericho, the debut album released in 1985, is a brilliant record from start to finish. Kai Hansen on vocals and guitar, he delivers a great performance, but this would be his last album on lead vocals until the Pumpkins United era. You see, Kai Hansen struggled to sing and play guitar simultaneously, so after Walls of Jericho, he decided to focus solely on guitar while composing songs for Keep It to 7 Keys Part 1. Overall, this is a fantastic fucking album. Though not their best, Michael Vikov's guitar work is brilliant, and the album has more of a speed metal sound than pure power metal. Kai Hansen's vocals can sound overstrained at times, as he sings incredibly high falsetto in some of these songs. Highlights include Ride the Sky, Reptile, the soloing, The Guardians, Gorga, and emotionally charged How Many Tears. It's a great record, and there's a reason why I rank it so fucking high. The band was very tight on their debut, but they would only get better in the albums that followed. Helloween were on a roll in the music scene, and in 2007 they released what I think is probably the best album from the Andy Durrus era, Gambling with the Devil. This is a heavy fucking offering by Helloween, with every song being incredibly catchy and melodic, featuring soaring guitar solos, chugging guitar riffs, insane thunderous drumming, and Andy Durrus's incredible vocal deliveries. Kill It is a thrashing heavy song with a bit more grit in Durrus' vocal approach. The songwriting on tracks like As Long As I Fall is brilliant, and the hard-hitting heavy song The Bells of the Seven Hells is so good. Gambling with the Devil itself is a melodic and catchy track with infectious hooks throughout. Helloween were consistently releasing good fucking albums, even great albums during this period, and I think Gambling with the Devil is the best of Durrus era releases. However, I don't believe it was their heaviest. That distinction likely goes to the next album, Seven Sinners. I also love how prominent Marcus Grosskopf's bass is on this album, with some really nice licks, especially on Dreambound and Heaven Tells No Lies. Overall, Gambling with the Devil is an incredible album from start to finish. They discovered Michael Kiske, who would soon become the lead vocalist for Helloween after Kai Hansen stepped off vocals and focused on guitar for the next album. Keep It to 7 Keys Part 1. Initially, they were hoping to release their next studio album as a double album, but that plan was turned down by their record company Noise Records. The rejected record was Keep It to Seven Keys Part 2, I'm pretty sure. During the recording session for Keep It to Seven Keys Part 1, Vykov had a mental breakdown, so he's not featured on a lot of the album. The only song he appears on is A Tale That Wasn't Right, which is a fantastic power ballad. Kai Hansen mainly handled the guitar work on this album, and I think the songwriting. Overall, this album is amazing from start to finish with incredible fucking melodies. Michael Kiske was a great addition on vocals, and his voice sounds similar to Kai Hansen's, who now provided backing vocals as well. The drumming by Ingo Schwittenberg is fantastic, thunderous at times, and I love how prominent Markus Grosskopf's bass is on this record. You get amazing songs like I'm Alive, the 13 minutes masterpiece, It's Helloween, the Vykov guitar solo driven A Tale That Wasn't Right, and the fast-paced burner Future World. It's a great record that I love. So I'll just come out and say Keep It to Seven Keys Part 2 is my favourite record by Helloween. I love the production on this, and Vykovs mainly handles the songwriting. Helloween released Keep It to Seven Keys Part 2 in 1988. After a year of touring, the burnout effect was taking its toll, and Kai Hansen wanted to take a break and recharge, but the rest of the band didn't want to, as it would kill their momentum. This would be the last time Kai Hansen would be featured on a Helloween album, apart from Helloween, the self-titled album released in 2021. Keep It to Seven Keys Part 2 is my favourite because of the infectious fucking melodies, great songwriting, and amazing guitar work. I love Ingo's drumming on this, with the tight little fills he adds that enhance the songs. Vykovs and Hansen's guitar work is amazing with mouth-watering solos. You get fantastic songs like Dr. Steen with its catchy fucking chorus, the melodic March of Time that's so sing-alongable, and the great I Want Out, and of course a 14-minute masterpiece, Keep It to Seven Keys, to close off the album with Michael Kiske's incredible vocals and falsetto. The songwriting on this album is just too good. That's why Keep It to Seven Keys Part 2 is my favourite Helloween album. Wow. So this was a huge ranking. Helloween is a great band, and then they have made some legendary albums in the power metal and heavy metal scene. In my opinion, I think Helloween are more heavy metal than power metal, but how can you tell sometimes? So let me know what you thought, and also comment your ranking. It's been fun, and I'll see you in the next one.